Right, hello everyone, welcome into today's video. My name is Orscott, you can call me Jay, and in this video I'm going to run through how I found myself getting back into the Pokemon franchise through the video games, what I've been able to collect after just under a year and a half as an MSRP online only shopper, and what I plan on focusing my collection on to ensure I can enjoy building that collection despite the torrid time I seem to have got involved in the hobby. So, I rekindled my interest in the Pokemon franchise the exact same way in adulthood as I did in childhood, the video games. I played the OG games on my lime green Game Boy Color when Pokemania was in full swing. In fact, I think the only reason I owned that Game Boy was to play Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon. I watched the anime when I could, but since it initially only aired on Sky in the UK and we had Telewest, which would become Virgin Media later on, I could only really watch VHS tapes that I owned or watch it on terrestrial TV on a Saturday morning, whichever episode they chose to air. Like all kids back then, I did own a decent stack of cards, but like a lot of other people from that era, they must have got traded away, sold, or just plain thrown out during my childhood because I don't have any of those cards still to hand. Fast forward to around mid-2024, and after years of being a PC-only gamer, I finally caved and I bought my first Nintendo console since that lime green Game Boy, which was a Switch OLED with a copy of Pokemon Violet, and I also purchased Pokemon Legends Arceus to go along with that. Now, I did fairly enjoy the modern games, but they just gave me the itch to enjoy the games from my childhood, so I done just that. I set up an emulator through Steam so that I could play it across any of my PCs with Steam Cloud saves, play it on my Steam Deck, etc. And I dived into the remakes of the games from my childhood, which was Fire Red and Heart Gold. Just a quick side note, I remember Red and Gold looking like Fire Red and Heart Gold. It's so crazy how your childlike imagination will fill in the gaps for graphics and colours and stuff like that. I had to go back and check what Red actually looked like the first time I booted Fire Red. But from the moment I heard that Pallet Town music, I was absolutely hooked. I beat Fire Red, then Heart Gold, then Platinum, then Alpha Sapphire, then Black 1, and then I got about halfway through Black 2 before getting a little bit burned out from the video games and taking a break. But because I had been searching up Pokemon game content on YouTube, the algorithm started serving me up Pokemon card content from creators that it knew I watched, like Zerka and Randolph and Moist Critical's Pokemon phase during COVID, and XQC opening crazy vintage boxes. And it was at that point in early 2025 I decided to jump online and look for some Pokemon products to open myself. Now, I was able to spend well over £500 on a multitude of products ranging from UPCs to tins from a variety of retailers, but little did I know that that would be the last time I would ever be able to do that, because literally at that same time the Prismatic boom was underway. And by the time we got to Journey together, I was struggling to get a single new product like everybody else. Obviously, it's made a fair bit worse for me because of my personal circumstances that mean I can't go brick and mortar hopping on release days due to struggling in public and social settings, so I'm really restricted to what I can get online without paying those scalper prices. But now that we're all caught up on that, let's get to the fun part of this video, showing you guys the things I have managed to collect in that 13 or so months since I got introduced back into this incredible franchise from my childhood. Right, so it's time to take you through my collection, but before we do that, I want to run you through my system for cataloguing every single individual card that I do unpack. Let's flip you to the other cam, and as you can see, we have these two sets of cards here. Now these are the last two things that I managed to open. It was this half booster of Temporal Forces and some first partner collection boxes. Now I opened the first partner packs, put those promos into a binder, and then the Phantasmal Flames packs are over on this side and the Mega Evolution packs are on this side, separated by set. Same with this Temporal Forces half booster. We opened the half booster and we put all of the cards back into the half booster box until we get time to manually enter every single one of these cards into TCG Collector, and when we have a spare hour or so to sit and do that. So we will pull up the set list for Temporal Forces, we will go, okay, Marty's Conviction 201, add that to the collection, and now we know that we have that, and we will do that for every single card in this half booster box. Now, the reason we would do that is because if in the future I ever foresaw myself doing something like a Pokedex binder or a binder all of one Pokemon, then searching through this bulk box gets a lot easier when I know for a fact that I own one of the cards that I am missing, and that it is tracked by set, because all of these little dividers tell me which set is which. So let's say, for instance, I needed a rock ruff for a random binder. I would go to TCG Collector, I would search the Pokemon's name, it would tell me yes, you have that in your collection and you have the one from Journey Together. I would come here, I would search through, and I would find the rock ruff like that. And now this common card that would otherwise be completely forgettable is tracked, and I know which set it is. And to find it, I only have to search through this pile instead of all of these cards here. And so future me will really thank past me for taking that extra 20 minutes, 30 minutes every time we open a set of cards to manually enter those cards into my tracking app. Now we've got the boring stuff out of the way, let's start going through the more fun stuff. Let's go through cards and sealed product that I have managed to accrue in this time that I've been collecting. Now, this is not an impressive binder by any stretch of the imagination. This is just where I keep promos from things that I managed to open. So on page 1 we have the first partner collection. Got very lucky that I got the Gem 1 and Gem 4 from packs that I opened myself. Then I only had to buy the Gen 7 for myself, which was a big win because these were the cheapest ones to buy on the market. I think I paid just over what you would pay for a box for the 3 that I was missing. And then eventually we will obviously have to switch out these pages because we will want page 2 and 3 to be Series 2 and Series 3 of the first partners, but right now this binder just holds the few promos that I've managed to get from opening product. This card here, the Haunter promo, is probably one of my favourite cards that I have. I absolutely love the thick black line and the super stylized way they have done the artwork for the foliage around them. Absolutely love that card. Charmander line from the Charizard SPC with the figure. These came out the Terapagos box, I believe, at the bottom here. But yeah, not the most impressive binder. It's literally just where I keep my promos to keep them safe and keep them all together and kind of remember where they came from. Right, now next up, let's go through singles. Now this Ethan's Hoto has a bit of a story to it. I've always kind of tried to stay away from Whatnot. Obviously it's not got the best reputation, but I did use my £10 free credit on Randolph. Like, I used Randolph's code to get £10 free credit, and from him I bought 2 packs of Heatwave Arena sealed. They arrived, I opened them, and I hit the chase card of Ethan's Hoto, so I was absolutely delighted with that. Still, I think maybe the most expensive card in my collection. If not, this is starting to catch up to it. The Bulbasaur from Stellar Crown, obviously as a Gen 1 baby. I love this card, an absolute beauty of a card. Any Japanese you see also came from Randolph. Ends Reshiram from Journey. I did pretty well with Journey. I only managed to get an ETB and I think 2 or 3 triple pack blisters. But I did pretty well from those packs. We've got the End Reshiram, we got the End Zoroark as well. I seem to have crazy luck for hyper rares, as you'll see as we go through this pile. Slitherwing from Paradox, another hyper rare, Petulant EX from Shrouded Fable, Tapu Bulu from Shrouded Fable, Walk and Wake, we just hit that in that Temporal Forces half booster I showed you earlier. Another hyper rare and Alolan Executor from Surgeon Sparks. Surgeon Sparks packs came out of the Terapagos UPC, I believe. Swinub from Journey. Ledian from Stellar Crown. Reuniclus. I always get that, find that so difficult to say. Now this card I absolutely love. I love cards where like the Pokemon is either in its natural habitat or the complete opposite, like where you have the Steelix that's working construction. I love cards like that where the Pokemon are kind of living life. They're not just kind of in place for you to look at. Another hyper rare in the Garchomp PX from Paradox Rift. Milotic from Surgeon Sparks. So like a card like this, for instance, is obviously top loaded. I'm pretty sure this was highly playable in the TCG at some point, which is why these cards had value. So obviously I've opened this, checked the value and been like, whoa, that needs a top loader. I'm not sure if that's still worth anything now, if it's not as playable in the TCG, for instance, but I'm pretty sure this was a highly playable card in the TCG. And then we have the Lapras from Stellar Crown as well. So as you can see, I've had some crazy luck hitting hyper rares, lots of gold cards, considering the small amount of packs that I've opened. But now that is card based stuff. Let's move on to sealed and show you what I have managed to pick up in that department. Right, so first up in sealed stuff, we have a random triple blister of Twilight Masquerade. This was just randomly sat on the shelf in Sainsbury's. Mum brought me at home. and I'll rip it open at some point, stick that promo in my little promo binder, and open these packs as part of a YouTube short or on a stream or something random like this. Next up, we have something that is not even sealed anymore. We have the first partner collection box that one of my trios of cards came out of. We glue this tab down. I think this would look amazing on a shelf behind me, because my plan is to, we're very zoomed in right now for this video, but when I'm streaming and stuff, it's a much more zoomed out camera. You can see a lot of this wall. And I think my plan is to get like a walk-in card cabinet for graded stuff or for singles here, and then behind me all the way along this wall put up shelves. And so this would look great sat on a shelf for display purposes to kind of remember the 30th anniversary, and to go alongside it, this. Now this is fully sealed because these packs are nothing special. It's not like this pack, for instance, that I really wanted to open to try and hit the cards I was looking for. The only thing that makes this special and collectible is the coin and promo, and so we could put these on display next to each other considering they're the exact same size, and they would look very good to remember that whole 30th anniversary period. Keeping this one sealed, definitely. Right, now this next one is a bit of a weird one. Now, I'm not completely against ripping this open, but it is a bit of a rarity in the fact that it's an Amazon exclusive only, at least here in the UK. I don't know if you can get this elsewhere in the world from other retailers, but here in the UK, this is an Amazon exclusive product. Kinda in two minds about this one. It would be quite fun to rip. I've never opened a single pack of Destined Rivals, so I would check that off my list. But then, like I said earlier, I have this strange feeling that it's like when I get lucky enough to get selected from Amazon to buy a product, I know I'm never going to get another one of them. So do I want to rip it open or do I want to keep it sealed? I'm always kind of battling my own thoughts about whether or not something should be ripped or kept sealed. Now, next up we have the complete opposite end of the spectrum. This one would need to be pretty crazy for me to open. I would need to hit a milestone on the channel or complete a challenge or do something like that, because Prismatic, another set that I haven't opened a single pack of, and I really, again, it's this crazy feeling like I'm not going to sell any of my sealed stuff. The closest I would ever come to selling it would be trading it to get a card I liked or something like that. But I'm never going to sell it. I'm not trying to be a Pokemon money bro or a scalper. The idea of ripping this open for me just feels crazy with how sought after this is. Again, an Amazon invitation. Just got lucky, drawn out a hat, picked to buy it, and paid MSRP for it. And pretty much before it had arrived with Amazon Prime, it was worth more than I had paid. And straight away that puts me in the mind frame that like, do I really want to rip that open? I know it's stupid. It's just the way the hobby is now. It's like battling my own inner demons about whether or not to rip something open. But if we do never decide to open it, then it's something that would look very good on a shelf, similar to some of the other stuff that we've seen as well. Right, so this next item is not Pokemon card related in its slightest. It's this Pokemon 30th anniversary edition magazine thing. Now, this isn't like a kid's comic or anything like that. It's actually a full like historical dive into how Pokemon was created for the 30th anniversary. My mum actually picked me this up on TikTok Shop of all places, and as you can see, it's got like how Tajiri was inspired to make the games, obviously about his history catching bugs as a kid in the countryside, all the different systems the games appeared on. You've got an artist profile on Ken Sugimori in here, and all the sprites and art that he drew, and like the evolution of Pikachu, and such a cool little piece of history for the 30th anniversary. But it's more like biographical about how the game came to be and all that. A much more interesting read for somebody on the wrong side of 30 years old like myself than it would be for a kid that's definitely more celebrating the 30th anniversary and stuff. Like I say, picked up for me by my mum on TikTok Shop. Has an MSRP of I think $9.99, but she says she got like a £5 voucher or something if she followed the publisher's page. It does say 100% unofficial, so they've just done this on their own too. It's not Nintendo backed or Pokemon backed, but super cool. Like at first I thought, oh, that's nice for display, but I'm probably going to have to flick through and read all that, because although I do think I know most of the stuff that it's talking about, still an interesting read, and probably some pictures and stuff that we haven't seen in here before. So yeah, very interesting little thing. Thought I'd show you that as well, even though it's not necessarily card related. Now let's get to some random half boosters. We have half booster of Journey and a half booster of Twilight. Obviously half booster boxes exclusively distributed in the UK, I believe. I'm pretty sure I got both of these for my birthday in June of 25. I found the shop, I had ordered them, and then my mum was like, listen, I've nothing to get you, do you want me to grab you them? Pretty sure the Twilight's probably performing a little bit better, because Journey is very hated for some reason, even though I think it's a really cool set. And then from that original big £500 splurge that I made at the very start when I got into Pokemon, we have this Paradox Rift full booster, 36 packs of Paradox Rift. This will need to be opened at some point because it's badly damaged. Unfortunately, this came from Very, and they have a torrid reputation for anything that's not tins. Everything comes bashed in. That's the one thing when you order from big box retailers, I think they just send stuff out like they would any other product, whereas when you order from card stores and stuff, they tend to take a little bit more care so that things like this don't happen. And I think these front 2 packs definitely look like they're very tight on the top corner, this top left corner of the cards, so not ideal. But yeah, I still have this original Paradox Rift booster from the very first big splurge purchase I made when getting back into Pokemon, but at some point we probably will have to rip that. Right, now this next one probably won't fit on the top down cam, but we'll try it for the sake of it. Yeah, there we go. As you can see, it's a big cardboard box, so let's go to the big cam. So this is the, I'm sure you can probably guess from the size of the box and the Japanese writing, this is a Pokemon Center Japan exclusive. This is the Team Rocket's attaché briefcase with a full booster of, I think Glory of Team Rocket is the name of the Japanese set. Basically Japanese Team Rocket set. Full booster box inside the briefcase, and then the limited edition Japanese exclusive Pokemon Center Team Rocket briefcase. Now I picked this up for just over £200, £225 I think, something like that. And the booster box is now selling for I think £120, somewhere around that. So to pay an extra £100 for such a collectible, I will always buy collector's items like this. I've always been big into buying like limited editions of video games. Like I had the Call of Duty Modern Warfare limited edition with the functioning night vision goggles. Anything like that I'm an absolute sucker for. So when we get shelving up there, we'll unbox this and have this out on display, and it'll be a really cool piece to look at. Something I'm really happy to have in my collection. Right, so we're getting down to the business end of things. We've got 2 more items to show you. The first of which is this from Chaos Cards, this time in a product drop to buy for £89.99, now worth like £290, something like that. Prismatic Evolutions SPC. You heard what I said over the pouch collection, so the idea of me ever opening this is even further away. I would feel rotten opening it, but I don't want to sell it. I want to keep it in my collection, but then also it's like the whole thing is about collecting cards. I should probably just rip it open. Maybe, as I say, we'll maybe set some parameters in an upcoming video. 1,000 subs on the channel, something like that, where I feel like I'm not just ripping it for myself, because it is definitely this feeling of being unworthy of opening it. Somebody deeper in the hobby that's been in it for 20 years should be the type of person opening this, and I got lucky and got picked to get it. But as of right now, this will definitely be something that goes up on that shelf. Right, so we are now at the final thing to show you. Now, as you've heard me kind of speak, you've probably noticed I've been jaded and a little bit, I've got my own little hang-ups about opening modern Pokemon. It almost feels, like I say, unworthy of ripping some of the rarer stuff that I do manage to get my hands on, because you feel bad that there's people that have been in the hobby so long. And so I kind of came to the realisation myself the last couple of weeks probably, that after the 30th anniversary, which is rumoured to be around September, obviously I want to take part in the 30th anniversary as being a Gen 1 kid, as somebody who got back into it through playing the Gen 1 games. Obviously I want to celebrate that 30th anniversary as much as anyone else, so I will definitely be sticking around trying to hunt down modern until after the 30th anniversary. But once that's out the way, I reckon we'll be looking at the end of 2027 for Winds and Waves, and Mega Evolution just doesn't tickle me quite as much. And so I'm thinking my plan is take part in the 30th anniversary stuff, and coming into 2027, spend all of 2027 hunting down the stuff that really tickles me, which is Watts era stuff, vintage stuff. Spend most of next year hunting down that stuff, and then come back into modern for Winds and Waves, because that'll be the first time since getting back into the hobby that I'm around for the release of a new video game and new cards to go along with those new Pokemon and stuff like that, which would be really cool to be part of. So I think that might be my plan, to get back into modern for Gen 10, but until then spend all of next year hunting down vintage stuff. So to kickstart my vintage collection, I picked up this little package here that you see. Now obviously I've opened it already. It actually came in a one touch, like the hard plastic case. I've since swapped it out into a different storage solution, but I wanted to put it back in here to show you guys, give you the big reveal. This is crazy for me to own. Now my EV SPC, for instance, if it keeps continuing price wise as it has been recently, will probably be worth more than this at some point. But for me, this means everything. This is the craziest thing in my collection. So before I keep talking and giving away what it is, let me show you guys my Venusaur artwork 1999 sealed base set pack. Now as I say, it came in much different packaging to this. It was in a one touch solid case, very firmly in this bubble mailer. I've since switched it out to this with a grade fit behind it and just in a team bag so that it's fully supported and tight and not rattling around, but packaged very well. And yeah, I just jumped at the chance to buy this from a store on eBay rather than from an individual. Here it is. Obviously I've inspected it myself a few times. Top looks absolutely perfect, seal on the back looks pristine, and you can see the 1999 trademarks. Like I say, the SPC could just keep going and going and going and be worth an insane amount of money soon. Look at the 151 UPC right now, insane. But this just means so much to me. This is like a pure nostalgia bomb. Every time I look at it, every time I pull it out, it just seems not real that these are still available to be purchased in the wild after 27 years. Absolutely nuts, and I own one. And will I ever open it? The crazy thing is, I'm probably more likely to open this than the EV SPC, because I feel like this appeals to a much more niche community of people, whereas the EV SPC, like, it's almost like feeling like you're taking it away from kids, or like there's so many people that would love to open that, whereas this appeals directly to the boomers like myself. So there's probably more chance I'll open this than the EV SPC, but I could also keep it sealed and maybe try and chase down like a full art set, get the Blastoise and Zard or whatever. But this was the catalyst of me kind of switching my mindset and thinking next year I want to focus on vintage, spend all the next year chasing down stuff that's readily available on the second hand marketplace, take a break from chasing down modern, and fill out like WotC binders and buy part complete sets and hunt for the singles online and stuff, and be a much more relaxing and exciting time. And then get back into modern, as I say, for Winds and Waves releasing, and take part in a whole new generation as a collector with the new cards and the new Pokemon and the new game, and really dive in at that point. But my plan for next year, most of it will be dedicated to vintage. So that is my 1999 base set Venusaur seal pack. So there you have it. That is my Pokemon collection so far after about just under a year and a half all in, since getting back into the games and then deciding to get into the cards and stuff. Yeah, what can I say? It's not the best collection, it's not the craziest, not a lot of cards to actually show you, bit of a mishmash of sealed stuff, but that's the state of the hobby that I got into it, and I couldn't have got in at a worse time, unknowingly, unwittingly. Like I say, the first time I jumped online, I spent £500 and I couldn't spend £500 now if I tried, unless I wanted to give it to some sort of scalper for something worth 200. So a big part of the reason, obviously, I'm thinking about making this switch next year and switching to vintage for a while after the 30th anniversary and before Winds and Waves. So that was my collection tour. We're going to go a walk, aren't we? We're going to go a nice little walk before the football. So I'm going to go and walk my dog, my little sidekick here. I thank you for watching this video. I hope you'll come and watch my next one. I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did, subscribe. That obviously helps out a lot. Keep a lookout for any Pokemon related videos. I am working on one right now, but it might take a little bit of time to edit and research, so there may be some other stuff uploaded in between then and now. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.